Okay, we're live now.
All right. Hi, good morning to Dr. Rosina. How are you? Hi, good morning, Dr. Rosina. My name is Farzana Izani, and I'll be your moderator for tonight. And how are you, doctor? How have you been doing?
Sorry about that. Hi, good morning. It's so great to see you. And it's so great to be here. Well, good night, I mean, for you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Rosina Mete, and today we're going to be talking about new year and new goals and ways you can set and accomplish those goals, as well as how to be kind to yourself at the start of this new year. So I really look forward to discussing this with everyone this morning or this evening.
Thank you, doctor. So now we already in February. Okay, some of us would think that, oh, my January is my trial month. Okay, I'll start my year in February. Or maybe perhaps like, oh, I'm still on 3 months trial. So what do you think of those who think that, oh, my I'm still on my trial months. I'm not ready to start my year yet. So how do you think that, how to make sure that we are ready, how to be sure that we are ready for our year?
Right. Well, I think for some people, especially as we continue to deal with the pandemic, I think for some people we're hesitant to embrace another year. But in terms of feeling overwhelmed about setting goals or not prepared, I think something to think about would really be, okay, so what is your image of this upcoming year? What would you like to accomplish? How do you see the year benefiting you? And then with the answers to those questions, you can think, okay, well, this year, I would like to be more active, or I want to spend more time with friends, or, I really want to start a new hobby. And then you can, go about setting goals and setting up time for yourself. And that's part of what my presentation will entail. And as you mentioned, for some people, they feel January is a trial month, but I'm of the belief that you can set goals at any time during the year. Because again, you're in charge of your life and you're directing yourself. So if January is that 30-day free trial, well, now we're in February. So it's time to set some goals.
All right, doctor. So how about like, how to be disciplined in order to accomplish the goals that we already set?
Oh, sure. Well, I was going to say maybe what I'll do now is bring up my slideshow, because I have I have an acronym that people can use in terms of making goals that are specific and measurable and are realistic for you. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, doctor, it sounds great. You may start with your presentation, but that would be really great. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I will just bring this up, and I'm just going to put my slideshow in. Okay, so are you able to see the full slide?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Okay, great. So as you can see, today's presentation is regarding new year, new goals, new roles, and how to set your intentions. So for the question that just came up, I will be addressing it quite soon in the next slide or two. I didn't have the acronym memorized, so I didn't want to give any incorrect information. So I'm really excited to be here with everyone and to hear how everyone's year is going and the goals that you may have. So it's a brand new year. 2022 is just beginning. So new year, better me, and bigger goals, right? That's what we're thinking about for this upcoming year. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, Rosina, I have trouble setting goals. I never accomplish them. I don't get them done. Well, a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? It's not a goal. So.
Yes, true.
And to address this, SMART goals are the answer. So that would be the acronym that you can use, SMART, S-M-A-R-T. So you can take a look either on the left or right-hand side of your screen. You'll see an infographic. So if we were to look at the one infographic, SMART is spelled out as specific. So what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to do this year, right? And 2 would be M for measurable. How do I know when it is accomplished? How will I know that it's, completed? How will I measure that progress? For 3, achievable. So this is where you want to ensure that your goal is reasonable. If you are trying to change your eating habits, maybe you're trying to eat more fruits and vegetables, and you say, okay, starting tomorrow, I'm going to eat 7 pieces of fruit a day. That might not be very achievable or realistic, or so, and R would be the next one, realistic. You'll want to set a goal that is relevant to your life. So what is worthwhile to you, right? So if you're setting a goal because your friend has the same goal, you may not have the same type of attachment to that goal. It may not mean as much for you. And then for T, that would be timely. So you'll want to give yourself time, but also set a deadline. Make sure that you're checking in with yourself, that the goal is working for you. So this essentially helps to answer your question. How do we ensure we're on track with our goals? How do we measure our goals? And so what I'll do is I actually have 2 examples that I'm looking forward to reviewing with you. And the next 2 slides may outline goals that may be of interest to yourself or to everyone watching on YouTube. So you might be thinking right now, okay, how do I use the SMART goal acronym? I read it, but I'm not entirely sure. Well, let's say your goal is, I want to reduce my screen time. You know what? Even during this presentation, I'm always on my phone. When I talk to my friends,
Yeah,
I'm not
true.
paying attention, right? Right.
Especially during the pandemic, everyone is online right now.
Right. I mean, everyone should be online on YouTube, but if you're
Yes,
if
true.
you're noticing with your friends, your face is always down, or with family, I mean, it does happen, right?
Yeah,
But so what you'll want to do is think about a goal that is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely for you. So if you think of all the hours in a week, if you were to say, okay, I'm going to spend 3 hours less time a week on my phone. So how to measure it? Well, for most phones like Google, Android, and iPhone, they have a screen time app. So you can use that to track your usage. I and just to be warned, I know when I saw my screen usage, it can be a bit of an eye opener for sure. It can be a bit of a shock. And then for achievable, so I can achieve this. What's something that's achievable for you? Well, you know what? I will put my phone away, or I'll turn my phone over when I'm having a meal, right? When I'm having a meal with friends, when I'm eating with my family, or I will take a 30-minute break from my phone. I will decide to read a book. I'll interact with my friends. I will focus on something else for 30 minutes. And as you can see, 30 minutes is a short amount of time, as opposed to saying, you know what, all morning I'll be off my phone. Because I think if I encourage you to try that as a goal, it might be a bit overwhelming, right? To start, especially since most people are used to their phone. And then what's relevant or realistic? Well, as I mentioned, you're still using your phone during the day. You still have access to it, but you're starting to reduce how often you're paying attention to it. And then for time bound or timely, how can you start this goal? Well, I will start this goal by putting my phone away for 1 meal a week, and then I will move up to 3 meals a week, or 1 30-minute break, and then move up to 6 30-minute breaks throughout the week, right? So that could be one almost every day. I'm going to complete this over the next 2 weeks, and then I'll review. Maybe the goal was too easy. Maybe you could move it to an hour, right? Maybe you could start with 3 meals right away. But sometimes it's good to start with a small goal, because small steps will yield greater rewards, right? So if we use the example, if you were practicing for the Olympics, right, for a race, you wouldn't try to, you wouldn't try to run the race, the entire race on your first day of training. You would run maybe a third or, an eighth of the race, and you would practice and really build up that skill. So this is the same sort of approach that you can take for your goals in the new year. So yeah, and then so this has to do with screen time. And then I have another example, which I hope will be relevant as well. So I know even today, you and I are on Zoom, and often we're sitting at home, we're on our screens, we're on our computers, right? Yeah. So do you find you're sitting more often than before? Like you're often sitting at home?
Sorry, Doctor?
Oh, sorry. Do you find that you're often sitting, like you're less active just with everything
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
we spend most of our times through online, right? So sometimes
right,
we tend to get that back pain. Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. And same here. We're still, so I'm in Canada right now in Ontario, and often we're still doing many things virtually. You're sitting a lot. And, for some people, they want to become more active. They're sitting all the time. So let's think about a specific goal. Well, I'm going to take a walk or ride my bike 3 to 5 times every week. So I put this goal in because I'm pretty sure Malaysia has better weather than Ontario right now. And
Yeah. It's
yeah,
always
you're able,
here.
yeah. So in contrast, if we were to look outside, I'm in southern Ontario and we have a bit of a blizzard. So if
Yeah.
anyone is watching from Canada or parts of the US, you may not want to ride your bike at all. But going for a walk, if you bundle up, is doable.
I
So
see.
yeah. So but being in Malaysia, you would be able to potentially ride your bike to work or school. So that's where the specific part of the goal comes in. I'm going to take a walk or I'm going to ride my bike 3 to 5 times every week. And how can I measure this? Well, I'll start by doing this for 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times, excuse me, 3 to 5 times a week. And how is this achievable? Well, you know what? I will go for a walk in the morning before school or work 3 times a week. If it's bike riding, and depending on the distance, you might be able to ride your bike to school or to work. And that could be part of your goal. And then for relevant or realistic, this is really important to me because I want to be more active and I value a healthy lifestyle. And I'm going to start with some realistic goals. So, time bound or timely, I'm going to start exercising 90 minutes a week by walking or riding my bike in the morning 3 times a week. I'm going to complete this goal over the next 3 weeks or over the next 2 weeks and review it. So the reason why you'll want to review over 2 weeks is this goal may or may not work for you. You may decide that, you know what, instead of walking in the morning, it's easier for me to walk right after work or right after school. I have time then, right? Or for some people, they might think, you know what, riding a bike to work is great. I'll do this every day and it will work out really well for me. And that's fine as well. So this is another way that you can use the SMART goal acronym. Yeah. So I know what you're probably thinking. You might be thinking, you know what, it is still quite difficult for me to set goals. It's hard for me to set goals because it's difficult for me to be kind to myself. I can be mean to myself. Or, sometimes it can be so much easier to be kind to others than to ourselves. But 2022 is a new year, right? So how can we change that? How can we address that perspective? Yeah. Oh, I saw you were nodding, so I wasn't sure if you wanted to
Sorry.
add anything.
Okay,
You're more than welcome to.
all right. So, okay, as mentioned before, that we tend to be kinder to other people rather than ourselves. So, how do we like okay, excuse me. Okay, my question is
Yeah.
like how how are we going to love ourselves? Because like, you know, sometimes we tend to self-sabotage our own happiness. So we tend to
Yeah.
prioritize other people's happiness rather than us. So how, and let's say that some people think that um when they try to prioritize themselves, they often think that, am I being selfish? Am I doing the right thing? Yeah, how
Mhm.
do we encounter that intrusive thoughts where we always think that being kind to ourselves or prioritize ourselves is an selfish act?
Okay, well, we will take a look at some of the upcoming slides, but to address the piece about being selfish,
Mm.
when you think of being kind to yourself, right, what you're doing is engaging in an act of caring for yourself or self care. So if you think of it this way, if you were on an airplane and the airplane was flying somewhere and you were seated next to, let's say, a child or maybe someone older, and let's say the plane had a little bit of turbulence, it's okay, but the oxygen masks fell down. You would put your oxygen mask on first before you helped someone else. So to take care of yourself, to be kind to yourself, is really to put that oxygen mask on first. Or if you think of your phone, right? How often do you charge your phone? And or your computer, right? We're
Yes.
taking care of our devices, but how
Yeah.
are we taking care of ourselves? Yeah, those are just some examples, but I'll go forward with the slide.
All right.
So as you can see, this slide has a lot on it for those watching. What I'd like for you to do is to take a look. So it's my left side, but it might be your right side. There's a word self-compassion, and then under the word is a number 1, and it's a self-kindness. So we are as caring towards ourselves as we are towards others. So self-kindness is a component of this concept of self-compassion, which was partially developed by Kristen Neff. So there are other aspects of it, but for the purposes of today's presentation, I'm just going to focus on the self-kindness piece, if that's all right.
Yes,
So
doctor.
for, yeah, so for self-kindness, so this goes back to your question earlier. This slide will be very helpful, I hope. So essentially, how do we start with self-kindness when we're so used to those intrusive thoughts or self-sabotaging? Um, well, oh, it looks like someone should we just admit that person into the waiting room? Okay, perfect. So I'll go back to the slide. So with self-kindness and self-compassion, what we want to really focus on is be kind to your mind. So what are some steps to start? Well, the first one could be a gratitude practice. So at the end of every day, what do you appreciate about yourself every day, each day? What went well for you today? Because sometimes, like you said, it's almost as if we look through life like this, we only see the negative. We don't see what is going well. If you're feeling really overwhelmed or upset, or just feel like you keep criticizing yourself, take a moment to reflect on all those qualities, those strengths that you have, and write a letter to yourself with a loving, accepting, and kind lens, right? So it could be, Dear Rosina, I appreciate you, you know, I want to be kind to you, etc. So then you're treating yourself with that kindness. And what research has shown too, when we're writing things out, whether it be a gratitude practice or writing a letter to yourself, it helps our brain retain that information. So it can be very helpful. And then for the third point, use a disclaimer or use kind of a warning with critical thoughts. So if you're having a rough day and you're thinking, you know what, I can't do anything right, I'm not the best, well, use a disclaimer. So I am not the best today. I feel stressed out, like everything's going wrong today. Because again, that gives a disclaimer, tomorrow could be a better day, right? It doesn't mean it happens all the time. And then taking a time out from that critical self-talk. So you might be thinking, oh, I've been critical to myself all day. What should I, how do I get rid of this voice? Well, it's not about getting rid of it, but that critical voice, hey, it needs a break too. Why don't you let it take a take a break or pause, and then you can focus on things you enjoy. And the last point is very important. So treating yourself like you would a friend, right? Like you said, you have so much compassion and kindness for other people. If you treated yourself even with a little bit of that compassion and kindness, how might that sound for you, right? Yeah.
Like for me, obviously, like if I treat others with kindness, of course, like I'll expect to be treated with kindness as well. So perhaps for me, if I treat myself like how I would treat other people, then probably I will be more gentle towards myself.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like you said, you would be more gentle and more understanding, right? We tend to be very compassionate with our friends and family. We really care about them. Yeah. So I'll just go to the next slide. So here is a great reframe. It's something called hindsight. So as you can see, viewing your life with hindsight. So the graphic on the screen, it gently reminds you to stop beating yourself up about things from your past. So instead of slapping your forehead and asking, oh, what was I thinking? You know, taking a deep breath and asking yourself that kind, gentle question, what was I learning? Right? What can I take away from that experience? And then it's less shame and blame on yourself. So as I kind of wrap up this presentation, I have one more strategy for those who are watching and listening with us today. So you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to try those strategies, but I'm still really hard on myself. And sometimes I'm judgmental. So what you may want to try is something called an affirmation. And I will go through some examples with you. So what about an affirmation for 2022? An affirmation is a positive or a neutral statement. It can provide comfort, it can foster positive emotions, and it also provides a realistic viewpoint as well. So I'm just going to go through some examples on the next few slides. This one is one of my favorites, and it reads, every day may not be good, but there's something good in every day. So as you can see, that's a reframe for instead of thinking, okay, every day has something horrible in it. Well, yeah, every day may not be the best, but there's usually some goodness within it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is very lovely quote there to keep reminding ourselves that there is something good in every day.
Great. Yeah, for sure. And then as you can see, depending if you're looking at the left or right, one of the affirmations says, the only approval I need is my own. So again, that's being gentle with yourself. It's prioritizing your point of view. And then the other one says, I accept myself as I am, right? So again, these are some really caring, gentle statements, some deep statements, but they're there to help you incorporate change. Yeah. And there's two as well, depending on if you're looking at the right or left. So one says, today I will let go of the past that I do not need and create the future that I want. And then on the right, it says, I accept myself, even though I sometimes make mistakes. So again, instead of incorporating that blame and that negativity, you're accepting yourself for who you are. And you're also acknowledging that you, me, everyone watching, we're all human. So it's okay to make a mistake. We can still accept ourselves and treat ourselves kindly. Yeah. So creating your own affirmation, you might be thinking, okay, I read those, but none of them really stuck with me. I'd like to make my own. And that's great. I encourage that. I think that's a great idea. So what you may want to try is to start with the words I am, or you could modify an affirmation that was provided, life is, or every day. And then you'll want to write something that's meaningful or comforting to you. So it may acknowledge difficulties and move towards solutions, or it may bring about peace. I know many people use the affirmation one day at a time, or things will get better. there's definitely different affirmations available. What I'd also encourage you to do, if you're comfortable, feel free to post your affirmation on YouTube in the comments or on Young Minds Instagram page. You're welcome to post them to the comments. If you wanted to upload the quote to your story and tag Young Minds, you're welcome to do that as well on Instagram. So I look forward. Of course, if you're not comfortable sharing, this is totally optional as well. So yeah. So I'll just move to my next slide. So just to wrap up today's presentation, and like I said, I really appreciate everyone being here on a Saturday in the evening to talk about the new year and their goals. So as you can see, a bit of a wrap up on this slide. So thinking about SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, or time sensitive. Setting that plan for 2022 and being kind to yourself, right? So as we discussed, you are worthy of respect, compassion, and love, not only from yourself, but from others. And developing your affirmation for the new year. Maybe you're still thinking about goals for this year, but you can definitely develop an affirmation and reflect on today's presentation. I also wish you all the best in 2022. And as you can see in the graphic below, it outlines you deserve the love and kindness that you give so easily to others. So again, I just wanted to thank everyone for their attention today. Thank you for listening to me in the evening. I keep saying morning because of the time difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to post them in the YouTube comments or to message our moderators. Of course, being on Zoom, I can't see the questions directly, but we can address any of them for sure.
All right, Doctor. There is a question. Okay.
Sure.
It says that, what do you think that is fundamental to ensure consistent commitment towards goal?
What is fundamental for consistent commitment to your goals?
Yes.
Well, I think with what we do, right, especially with goals, there needs to be a buy-in from you, right? So when I think of goals, I want you to think about what's motivating you, and are the goals relevant to your values and your life path? Because I'll give you an example. If I have a friend who sets a goal that, I want to make sure that I read more, and I don't resonate with that goal, but I set the same goal for myself. Well, where's my motivation, right? What helps me with that consistent commitment? The other piece, so the motivation and values, definitely check in with yourself about that. The other piece is to make sure that you're using the SMART goal acronym and you're ensuring that you have attainable and measurable goals. So my example, I'm going to read more. That's not a SMART goal, right? Because it doesn't give you any timeline. It's so vague. And I'm going to read more, I don't know, news or books or magazines, right? You can make it as specific as you would like to. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Doctor, for answering the question. Then I would like
Yeah.
Okay, like you've mentioned before, like we can write down our information. Like, is there any other way that instead of writing down, is there any other way that can help us to keep reminding ourselves, like to be gentle towards ourselves? Because
Right.
like this in this modern era, like not people writing journal anymore. Sometimes, sometimes people just go on Twitter and tweet about their day. But what about those who are like don't have any social media? They would like to very much taking care of themselves, but sometimes they get overwhelmed to write it down about themselves. Sometimes they just don't want to go on social media and to show about how they are feeling. And how about those
Sure.
people who tend to keep things to themselves?
Yeah, for sure. You know what? That's a great question. So, yeah, you don't necessarily have to share your affirmations on social media. And for some people, for sure, writing things down, everything is done electronically. What I would say though is with your device, what might be helpful is for many users, like for iPhone and Android, when you set alarms, you can name the alarm. You can give the alarm a name. So what you could do in the morning with your alarm name is you could add the affirmation. Today will be a good day. I accept myself for who I am. And then when you wake up and you see the alarm on your phone, you're reminded of that affirmation. Something else to think about is you could place the affirmations in your notes so that you have them. For some people too, they'll find affirmations that are like, as I had shown you, that are graphics. So they keep them in the photos in their phone, and then they can refer to them as well. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you need to share per se, but there's definitely ways to integrate it within your life.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you. I think that making as a wallpaper is really a great idea, since we always on our phone, we always
Oh,
like open,
yeah.
like we always on our laptop to do the work, and then that online, then I guess like putting it up on our screen would really help. Next question, doctor. How do we tell ourselves that we need a break? Like some people, like for example, those people who
Mhm.
are really hardworking, they always
Yeah.
feel that they're not enough. Like, oh, I need to do more. Like, and
Mhm.
they tend to have very less time to themselves. Like, how to tell them that they need time or they need a break for themselves? Like how, and what is your opinion,
Yeah.
doctor, regarding that issue? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with that, you would go back to that concept of being kind to yourself
Mhm.
and reminding yourself that I need to take care of myself. So I need to rest. I need to nourish myself, to have food. And I do need to take breaks because realistically, if you're working all the time and you're not sleeping well and, you're not taking time for yourself, it will just become more and more stressful. The other thing too, for some people, they'll tell me, well, I have to work all the time because I have to work towards my goals. Okay, sure, that's a statement. But think of it this way: if you were planting a garden and you were given a seed, you wouldn't expect that seed to become a flower the next day, right? You would have to take care of that seed and water it and plant it. And that's the same with goals and taking care of yourself. I also go back to like the phone or the device example. We're taking better care of our phones, right? We put the
True.
screen protector on, we charge our phones, we have it in a nice case. And then, so how are we treating ourselves, right? And if you think of it this way, every time you charge your phone, are you recharging, right? What's refilling your cup? Because you can't pour from an empty cup. Yeah.
All right,
So I
thank
hope
you.
that helps.
Yeah, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
think that's a really good example, because like we cannot expect like to plant a garden in just one day, because it really takes time and progress to grow,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and you have to take care of it and, be gentle and water it, and yeah, for sure.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor. Is there any question from the view? If you have any question, you can type it down on the chat box, and I will read it out and ask the doctor. Is there anyone who would like to ask any question? All right. Okay. Seems like no questions so far. Okay. So I would like
Okay.
to proceed to the next question, since there's
Oh,
no
sure.
question from the viewer. All right. Okay, doctor. Um, like how, let's say that once we have accomplished our goals, we are feeling good about ourselves, like, and how do we help ourselves when we tend to relapse? Like, for example, we've been doing very great, we have been
Mhm.
very consistent towards our goals, but there are times when we tend to get very overwhelming, we tend to slow down. Sometimes we don't really keep up with the pace towards our goals.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just give up. So how do we encounter of that feeling of giving up, that especially when we are on relapse?
Right. So I'm going to use another metaphor. So
Alright.
when you're feeling really overwhelmed and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to give up, you might have felt that you've hit a wall, right? But instead of feeling like, okay, I've hit a wall and I have to move through the wall, well, maybe the wall is there for you to rest. Maybe what this means, maybe a good check-in would be to take a look at those goals. So you've accomplished those goals, and you're integrating them, but maybe you could you could increase the goal, or maybe you could modify the goal. And going back to that motivation, maybe right now, as you mentioned, you're so busy, so you're not feeling as motivated, but thinking about that original buy-in and your values and your motivation, right? What got you started, and is it still the same? So if we were to go back to like the walking example, it might be that you're thinking, okay, well, instead of walking now, I'd like to also ride my bike. Or
Yeah.
I enjoy riding my bike more than walking. And I've realized that. Well, that's great. It's still aligned with your being active goal. And then you can modify it. Yeah.
All right, that's a really good metaphor to use. All right, okay, how
Yeah.
about, okay, I have another one, another question.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, okay, just now, like we have talked about after accomplishing a goals, like, okay, when we relapse, how about how to start our goal, like how to start ourselves, like to be gentle towards ourselves, how to start to be more consistent towards our goals. Like some people, they are afraid, like, and some of them tend to feel like, oh, there's always the next time, like,
Mhm.
nah, I'm not ready, like, uh so how do we do that? How are we gonna prepare ourselves to be ready?
Yeah. Well, before you make that specific goal, you could think of that general goal. So I'll go back to, I want to be more active. So thinking of now, and then if you were to think of, let's say 2 or 3 months from now, and you look at that goal and you think, okay, let's say I have this goal, let's say 2 or 3 months pass and I haven't done anything about that goal. How will I feel then? If nothing changes, how will I feel about that? Well, I'll probably be down on myself and I probably won't feel great. Whereas even if I make some progress towards my goal, how might I feel? Oh, I would feel accomplished. I would feel like I know what I'm doing and I know what to focus on, right? So reminding yourself of that end goal can be really great. Also, with being gentle with yourself, I go back to that metaphor of those small steps, right? And thinking like an Olympian, right? So over time, you're going to incorporate those goals and you're going to get better at them, right? At first, some of these goals may seem challenging, and that's okay. You're incorporating a change in your life, right? And how many of us really embrace change? Not all of us. So change can be hard. So I think admitting that is also being gentle to yourself. It's okay, you're human. And making these changes, committing to them, thinking about your values and your buy-in, that will go a really long way. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shati. That's really a very great insight, because I believe that, as you mentioned, like it may be hard to change. I mean, it may be hard to commit sometimes, especially when it requires consistent commitment. Sometimes it can get very overwhelming. So I believe that, one small step at a time, like, baby steps, perhaps a baby step, okay, do it one time at a time. And I think that I believe that once we start to take care of ourselves, like when we start to appreciate ourselves more, I believe that we can grow better in the future.
Yeah, I would agree. See, and that's a great way, that's a great reframe to think about it too. So you've already started, which is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, is there any more question from the viewers? Okay. No? All right. Okay, if there's no more questions, so before we end our session for this
Mhm.
evening and also this morning for
Morning.
you, all right.
Right, this evening.
Okay, is there
Yeah.
any suggestion or any advice that would you like to share with us regarding this New Year resolution?
Right. Well, I guess my advice or my thoughts would be to think of this new year, it is a new year. there are different possibilities. And just to really remember, that a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? So you need to make that plan, think of those SMART goals, and really start to be gentle with yourself. So thinking about how much compassion and care you give to others, even if you give yourself a little bit, if you start slowly, what will that sound like? And I have faith in everyone who's watching that you will be able to set and maintain those goals. If you have any follow-up questions, you can always post them on our Instagram. And I know Young Minds Malaysia will let me know, and I can always follow up with them as well. Yeah. So thank you so much for this great opportunity. It's been lovely to see you this evening.
All right. Okay. One last question. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That as self-care or self-help is important to us, especially towards being gentle, to being kind to ourselves. So I believe that self-care is a part of it, right? Of self-help.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. As a self-care or self-help is important in this uncertainty period, but how do we do it without guilt or feeling it unnecessary?
Right. Well, so I think sometimes when people think of self-care, and this might be more of this might be a bit of a North American view. Sometimes in North America, when people say self-care, they say treat yourself. And so people think, oh, I have to spend a lot of money on myself. I have to buy something. I have to, right? And so self-care does sound, it sounds more like a treat. Whereas what I see self-care is a regular practice. Self-care is taking care of you. So if you're feeling guilty or upset about it, maybe taking a look at, well, you know what? When was the last time I took care of myself? When was the last time I took time to, take care of my needs, to listen to myself, to do something kind for myself, right? When did that last happen for me? And then if you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, yeah, how is that being selfish to take care of yourself? Because then as you take care of yourself, right, you can focus more on your goals, you can interact with your friends and family, you can stay active, and again, you can also address your mood and some of that anxiety. Yeah.
Regarding about self-care, like is it the same as my question before, like how do we stay motivated? Is the method as the same as when we feel relapsed, or is there any other way for us to stay motivated?
Right. With self-care, you could definitely set some goals with self-care, in terms of staying motivated, seeing it as a part of your day, right? So when for some people, when they wake up, they wash their face, they brush their teeth, right? They go about their day. Well, what if doing self-care was just like that? It was something else you added to your schedule, because that also will normalize it. And it helps with that thought of, oh, this makes me feel guilty, or I feel bad for doing this. Well, no, self-care is part of my routine. It adds to my day. It motivates me and it makes me feel good, right? So like I said, everyone watching, you're deserving of self-care, right? You're deserving of taking care of yourself, of compassion, and of love and respect.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor. That was a really great info, really great sharing, and also I believe that all of us here who are watching this, like we get something, and also we learn something today. And I hope that those who are watching this, I hope that everyone will be more gentle toward ourselves. Give not to forget to have some self-care, and also like be gentle, especially like we tend to be kind to other people. Maybe it's time for us to focus more on ourselves.
For sure. Yeah. So for Young Minds Malaysia, right? Be kind to your mind.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's really nice. Okay, so I guess that is all for today's session. Thank you so much, Doctor, for spending your time and sharing with us for this session. We are looking forward to see you again in the future. And to those who view, just don't forget to follow Young Mind Malaysia to keep updated. Thank you so much, Doctor. Really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much. It was great speaking with you this morning, or this evening. Sorry.
really
You have a great weekend and take care, everyone.
thank you so much. I really hope that you have a nice day today.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.